Hello guys and welcome back to Planet 40k, the Space Marine channel. Sorry, I've been a little bit absent on this channel. I've been dealing with Necrons and Tyrannies and I need to sort of catch up on this channel. So today we're going to do a full review and we're going to be doing the Outriders from the Space Marine Index. Now, we aren't going to be talking about chapters in this video. We will do unique videos for chapters on this channel, but for the onset at the very least, we're going to just do it vanilla. We're going to talk about all the, everything to do with the actual unit itself. In fact, we've got the contents right here for you. So we've got the datasheet, unit combinations, the index rules, enhancements, stratagems, the battlefield role, scoring, then finally the pros and cons. Now, also something that we will start doing once we are getting into the swing of 10th edition, I'll start bringing the Planet 40k rating, which is a rating out of 5, and we'll be doing that at the end of the reviews. But at this moment in time, I can't say I've had too much experience with Space Marines in 10th edition, so I can't really give a full rating, but we can still give a full review. So let's get on to the datasheet. So the Outrider squad, it comes with the Outrider Sergeant and between 2 and 5 Outriders. Now previously you had an Outrider Sergeant, of course, but you only were allowed to take 2 Outriders along with the Sergeant, so effectively a max unit of 3. We are now getting a max unit of 6 Outriders. And then furthermore, we can actually add an Invader ATV to this unit. Now, as for points cost, for 3 models it's 115, so therefore 6 models is 230, and the ATV is 80 points, just like it is in its own datasheet. Now, in 9th edition, the 3 models was 105 points, so it used to be 10 points cheaper than this edition, and the ATV was also 10 points cheaper, it was only 70. So that's the points. I mean, are we happy with the points? We'll find out. Now the Sergeant and every Outrider is equipped with a heavy bolt pistol, twin bolt rifle, a Stardate chainsword, and the ATV is equipped with a heavy bolt pistol, a twin bolt rifle, onslaught Gatling cannon, and a close combat weapon, and of course has the option of replacing the Gatling cannon with the multi-melter. So that is the back of the datasheet. Let's flip over to the front side. So for this datasheet, I'm not going to really get too involved with the ATV because it's going to have its own full review and its own. Yeah, we're going to go into that in a bit more detail with its own unit. So I'm going to sort of bypass everything to do with the ATV until we get onto the synergy stuff later on. But as for the Outriders, they've lost movement. They're only movement 12 now. They used to be 14. They used to be rapid. 12 is still pretty good, but they used to be 14. Toughness 5, 3+ armor save, 4 wounds. The leadership is a 6+, and the object control is 2. So all the rest of the stats are either new or as they were. So nothing really of note apart from that movement. Jumping over to the ability side of the data card, Oath of Moment, so they're getting to select a unit and they're going to be rerolling hit rolls and win rolls, but that is army wide, it isn't just individual to the Outriders. I mean, are you going to be focusing on a unit specifically for your Outriders? Probably not, that's not really their role, and we'll get onto that as well in fact later in this video. They've got the turbo boost ability, so if you do advanced you just simply add 6 to the advanced roll, or 6 to the movement characteristic rather, and that will be your advanced roll. It's just a straight 6. Now they've lost a devastating charge, which is a pretty bad thing because that was something that made them quite good for me personally in 9th edition. So that was when they made a charge move, each model got 2 extra attacks in the fight phase. Let's get into the weapons and see how effective they actually are in terms of damage. So first of all, let's look at the ranged weapons. They've got the heavy bolt pistols, which are of course pistols, 18-inch range, 1 attack each, Blitzkill 3+, strength 4, -1 AP, and 1 damage. So it literally is as it was. Even though we've had the grand AP reset, they still remain at -1 AP, which is good. That's pretty good. Effectively, it's an anti-infantry weapon. Strength 4 is all you need against toughness 3. Maybe toughness 4 at a push, and -1 AP is all you really need against sort of those 5+ armor, 6+ armor saves. And 1 damage is enough. So yeah, that's what those weapons are for, and they can be of course shot into engagement range as well. Then of course they've got the twin bolt rifles. These used to be rapid fire, so we used to get double the amount of shots. They've now removed the double the amount of shots, and instead we've got twin linked. Twin linked is we get to re-roll our wound rolls. Is it as good? I don't think it is. I mean, bearing in mind we've lost the devastating charge ability, so we've lost attacks in melee, which we're going to go over that in a moment as well, but we've also lost shots with our bolt rifle, our twin bolt rifles. Yes, we're re-rolling wounds, but I think it was better the sheer amount of shots that it was having. It's also lost a bit of range as well. Not always the worst thing because these things are fast anyway, but it used to be 30-inch range, it's now just 24. 2 shots each, ballistic skill 3+, strength 4, -1 AP and 1 damage. It's not a lot, is it? It's not a lot. It's not a lot at all. So I'm not really that impressed so far. Melee weapons, the Saudis Chainsword, 4 attacks each, weapon skill 3+, strength 4, -1 AP and 1 damage. So again, it is as it was. Very similar to the heavy bolt pistol. It retains the AP, which is good. 4 attacks each. It's okay, we used to get more, but I mean that's what I liked about these. They used to have, I think it was 21 attacks overall for the unit of 3 of them. Now what are we looking at? We are looking at 4, 8, 12. We're looking at 12 attacks, not 21 attacks. And that's just in melee. So they've lost a lot of damage output, a lot of shots, a lot of melee attacks. Their battlefield role is going to have to change if we're going to continue using them. And then before we get on to the next part of the video, we've of course got to look at the keywords. They are mounted, which is a new key term for this edition. They were bikers, they are now mounted, so that will interact with maybe stratagems and things like that. They've got the grenades ability for the stratagem from the core rulebook and their Imperium and Outrider squad. So that's the data sheet. As for unit combos, of course we need to talk about the Invader ATV now. We can add 1 in the unit, only 1. Now the question I've got, which I'm not entirely sure what the answer is, can we use the ATV ability from the ATV datasheet? I don't think we can. I think we'll be using the Outriders ability, which is the turbo boost. But you'll have to let me know in the comments down below. Ranged attacks, they've got the heavy bolt pistol as well. We've already kind of covered what that does. And the twin bolt rifle, we've already covered that as well. But they've got the onslaught Gatling cannon, devastating wounds, 24-inch, 8 attacks rather. Ballistic skill 3+, strength 5, no AP, 1 damage. So another anti-infantry weapon. But if you want to change that out to an anti-tank weapon, you've also got the multi-melter option, which is melter 2, 18-inch range, attacks 2, ballistic skill 3+, strength 9, -4 AP and D6 damage. So the D6 is janky, but you do have melter 2, so you're plussing 2 to that. I think I personally would rather go with the onslaught Gatling cannon, because it just matches the rest of the unit with the heavy bolt pistols as well as the Saudis Chainswords. It just seems like they're a light infantry killer. They're not doing anything more than that. Save the anti-tank for other units in the decks. So close combat weapons as well, which they've sort of added that, I suppose. There's 5 attacks each. There's no AP, just strength 4. It's okay. It does what it does. So would I add one of these to the unit is the first question. I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see, because I'm already feeling like I wouldn't use this unit anymore. But we're going to have to keep going through this review to sort of find out if I can answer that. Other unit synergy, you can get a captain on a bike with the swift assault ability. So while this model is leading a unit, ranged weapons equipped by the models have the assault ability. Now in this edition, the assault ability isn't a -1 to hit if you do advance and then fire. So effectively it's just added movement, D6 movement, although it won't be D6 because we've got the turbo boost ability for your Outriders. So you're effectively adding 6 inches and still being able to fire those twin bolt rifles or the heavy bolt pistols. So it's not a bad piece of synergy there. As for another biker character, you've got the Primaris Chaplain on a bike with the Litany of Hate. While this model is leading the unit, each time the model makes a melee attack, add 1 to the wound roll. Now these guys used to be good in melee. I think they're just sort of not that great anymore, but you've got the option of using that Chaplain. Index rules, we kind of covered the Oath of Moment earlier in the video. And there's also combat doctrines, which I just wanted to put a little mention on. I mean, they're all going to be pretty useful for not a Devastator unit, for a Outrider unit. Being eligible to shoot in a turn in which it advanced, yes. Then you wouldn't need that captain on a bike. The tactical doctrine, being able to shoot and declare a charge in a turn that you fell back, yeah, that's also going to be useful. But I think the assault doctrine is probably the most useful out of the 3. Being able to charge in a turn that you advance. So you could advance. You could have that captain on a bike, for example. You're moving 12 inches plus your 6 inches for the turbo boost. So you're moving 18 inches. You're still shooting your weapons and then you're still charging on top of that. I think that's probably the best doctrine if you were to kit out one of these doctrines for your Outriders. Enhancement wise, well of course they're not characters, but you could use a character nearby and you could give them the Bolt of Discipline enhancement to give them sustained hits 1. And that would have to be on a character that was leading the unit. So again, there's only going to be that Primaris Chaplain or the captain on a bike. But sustained hits 1, any 6s to hit will inflict an additional hit. And if they're within the Devastator doctrine, then it's going to go off on a 5+ rather than a 6+. That's not too bad at all. It's just a shame they don't have as many shots as they used to. Stratagems of note that you could use for the Outriders: only in death does duty end. This is when basically if you lose units in a fight and they've not actually fought yet, they can still fight before being removed from play. It's 2 command points. You're probably not going to use it on these, if I'm honest with you. There's better melee units that you can use that on. Honor the Chapter, you can effectively turn their melee weapons to lance weapons, which would be a +1 to wound, I think it is. And also if you're in the Assault Doctrine, you get an extra bit of AP on top of that too. Yeah, that's okay. Armor of Contempt is another option in the shooting phase, in your opponent's shooting phase or fight phase, and it will worsen their armor penetration by 1. It'll keep you guys up and running, I guess. And Squad Tactics is another one I want to mention today from the Gladius Task Force. In your opponent's movement phase, just after they've ended their move, or advanced move, or fallback move, any infantry or mounted unit that's within 9 inches of the enemy unit can make a normal move up to D6, or a flat 6 if you're in the Tactical Doctrine. So this could just move you onto an objective, or move you as a screen, maybe getting in the way of units, certain units that they've got. Maybe it completely changes how objective control works on an objective, so you could use that to your advantage, but it is a little bit of a situational one, that one. Right, let's move into the battlefield role for the Outriders. So of course they're a fast unit, they can shoot, they can fight, not as good as they used to, but they can still do those things. I feel like they need a leader in the unit still to be far more effective. I mean, you can now take them in units of 6, which is definitely an advantage, and also you can have a leader as well as the ATV, so effectively it would be like a unit of 8 if you had those 2 extras in there. So it's like a mini Death Star unit. Well, they're not as punchy, but they are still something, right? They're ideally looking to harass or clear the front lines of your opponent's army, or potentially clear out a key location on the battlefield. Could be an objective, it could be the central area of the no man's land, but you definitely want to be following up with a more stronger unit, because these guys, they're not the strongest. Toughness 5 isn't, you know, it's quite easy to break through, but yeah, you want to be using them to take out the front line, and maybe use their speed to tie up a gun line or tie up shoot units to prevent them from actually shooting. But that's their battlefield role. As for actually scoring, I mean, speed again is giving them the chance of getting into the no man's land and beyond very early on, and potentially you could charge into an objective with the right targets, of course. You don't want to be going up against melee targets because you'll just get absolutely wiped. And ideally you're looking to put pressure on those objectives while your second wave or your reinforcements are arriving to back the unit up. The likelihood is they will die at some point in the game quite early on, but it prevents the backup units, the reinforcement units that are coming in as a second wave, it prevents them from taking the damage. I think that's their role, and I think that's going to help you score as well. I mean, also in terms of secondaries, looking at the standard ones from the old edition, because I don't have the new one just yet. Engage on all fronts, perhaps, behind enemy lines. Again, it's all about speed and spreading out. But generally, it's just primaries that are at a distance. They can get to them with that 12-inch movement. Right, so let's look at the pros and cons for the Outriders. Starting with the pros, they're still a fast unit with 12-inch movement. Not as fast, but they're still fast. They've got a larger unit size of 6, then +1 with the ATV, then +1 with a potential leader. You've got the great bike leader options. I mean, there's 2 that we spoke about in this video. The Captain on a bike and the Primaris Chaplain on a bike. You've got that turbo boost ability, which is the straight 6 for your advanced role, which again you can buff with a Captain on a bike, for example. You've got the weapons that all still have AP, which is, you know, most weapons in this edition that are standard weapons have lost AP. So that's not too bad. They're all -1. They're excellent screen removers because of their speed, their fighting and their shooting, so they can get rid of those quick screens that are just blocking stuff from just getting where it needs to go and blocking enemy units from taking damage. And finally, you could decide to put the damage on the ATV first because of course it's got more wounds. Might be a strategy, who knows. As for cons, it's got less shots. Well, they've got less shots and less attacks than they did in 9th edition, which I think sucks. They've got less of an elite feel to them. They feel like a, you know, like a troop option, just on a bike, like a standard bike unit. Now I know that's what they are, but 9th edition just had a little bit more of an elite feel about them because of the sheer amount of attacks and shots. Adding the ATV loses the ATV ability, which is actually the Outrider Escort. I'm going to read this out because I didn't pick this up earlier in this video. Once per turn in your opponent's shooting phase, when a friendly Astartes mounted unit within 6 inches of the model is selected as a target of the attack, this model can effectively shoot as if it was their shooting phase. But yeah, I don't believe you're going to be getting that ability if you're taking the ATV and putting it in the Outriders unit. I think they need to be a complete separate unit in order to use that ability. So that's why I'm putting that in the cons. And finally, they're more expensive this edition than they were in 9th. So to summarise and conclude the Outriders and their use in 10th edition, I just don't think they're as useful as they were. I was selecting them quite often when I played Space Marines in 9th edition. I just don't see myself doing that in 10th. I just don't think they've got that same punch, they've not got the same shooting capabilities. And for me, they're just a little bit lackluster now. But yeah, you guys will have to let me know in the comments down below your thoughts and feelings to the Outriders in 10th edition. So guys, that is it from me today. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel. As always, thank you all for watching. See you in the next one.